What's up YouTube? Honeybee here, bringing you a new character guide and combo tutorial, and in this video we will be showing off Devora's Buzzed Tournament variation. A lot of people have been asking for a Devora guide, and we just reached the sub goal on Twitch, so thank you so much to everyone on Twitch supporting the stream and subscribing to the channel. I really do appreciate all you guys supporting, and here we are with our Devora guide. So the first thing we're going to want to get into are her pokes. So we're going to look at her down 1, her down 3, and her down 4. Her down 1, 8 frame startup, -6 on block. So it's an okay poke. The range is pretty strong, pretty decent. You can hit them from about right here. So the range is pretty good on it. 8 frames is an okay speed for a down 1. The fastest down 1 can be 6 frames. A lot of characters have 7 frame down 1s, and then some have 8 frames. Devora's is 8 frames. -6 on block is kind of bad. Honestly, you can't really double down 1 and try to steal a turn back with her successfully. I wouldn't really advise trying to do that. Her down 3 is a 9 frame low, 1 frame hit advantage, -9 on block. So if you're hitting someone with this, for example, we'll show the AI to jump. Notice how we're both jumping basically at the same time after I do this move. It says it has 1 frame of hit advantage, so technically I should be jumping before her, but it kind of looks like we're jumping at the same time, meaning it would actually be neutral on hit. Now this is generally a bad thing, because after you poke someone, you want to have the ability to continue pressure, so I wouldn't really advise using her down 3. If you see, if I do a down 1, see how much hit advantage I have, I can jump way sooner. So you kind of want to stick to her down 1 and her down 4. Don't really use her down 3 that much, because the hit advantage is basically non-existent. You're going to want to use her down 1 and her down 4. Her down 4 has a 12 frame startup, and it's a -11 on block, 12 frames hit advantage. So it has some pretty decent range on it. As you can see, she can hit them from back here, and then you can use that time to maybe drop a bug. You're going to use that time to maybe follow up with the 4-2-2 afterwards, which is generally a good idea, because it has the range that you need to continue pressure, and most opponents won't really be able to do anything except block at this point. So using a down 4 and then following up with a 4-2-2 is going to be pretty useful. She does have a couple other moves worth mentioning, such as her forward 1. It's a 15 frame high attack, so the opponent can duck this, as you can see, 15 frames, but you can follow up with the forward 1-3. We're going to get into the her actual strings later on in the video, but yeah, using her forward 1 is going to be important, but it is a high. She doesn't have any really good mids. She has her forward 2, which is a 20 frame mid, -17 on block, so you can't just do this on its own, but it does have good range on it. As you can see, I can hit them from all the way back here, but it's 20 frames. So you're gonna in the footsie game, you're gonna want to use your down 4 and then follow up with maybe your forward 2. She has a really strong down 2. As you can see, it's 10 frames, and the hitbox goes up really high. So if I have the AI set to jump kick, you can see that you can anti-air them pretty cleanly most of the time. She has some strong anti-air tools. With her down 2, stand 1 can also be good. Down 4-2 can be good. We'll go over those later. She also has back 3, which is a low, -11 on block. She can do this and continue a string for a double low. She also has her sweep. This sweep is pretty risky to use, though. It's -19 on block, so it's very, very punishable if you do go for it. She also has her forward 4. So back 4 is her sweep, which is a low. Forward 4 is an overhead. Both of them will splat the opponent down. It's a little bit of a guessing game that you can impose on your opponent, but the forward 4 is 21 startup frames, and it's -16 on block. So you can't really use it a whole lot because you will get punished quite hard for it. The risk reward is not really in your favor, but you can throw it out there every now and then to try to keep your opponent on their toes. So those are her basic attacks. If we look over to her combo attacks, in this variation she has access to a couple new strings. So I'm going to set the opponent here. She has a 1, 2, and then 1+3. Now this is a side switch, so you can use this to get your opponent to the other side. It's also a Crushing Blow, but we'll go over that later. Forward 1, 3 is going to be one of your main strings you're going to want to use with her because it has strong range on it, and this is her main combo starter as well. Her combo starter string, the forward 1, 3, and the forward 2, 2. Forward, she also has this string 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, but this string doesn't seem to be that useful. You can kind of use this sometimes to hope that your opponent just won't block it. It is safe on block, but you can't special cancel it into anything, so it's not really that useful. She also has access to her forward 2, 2, and then her forward 2, 2, 4, which is like that. And she also has a couple other strings here. Forward 2, 2 up 1+3 and down 1+3. Forward 1, forward 2, 2 up 1+3 looks like that. And forward 2, 2 down 1+3 looks like that. You're not really going to want to use these that much though. I'll explain in detail later, but essentially you're just sacrificing damage if you do go for it. She has forward 2, 2, 4. This move here, which is -6 on block, but you're not going to want to use this either, and I'll show you guys why. Also, she has a back 3, 4. This is a pretty good string. It can be flawless blocked and punished, but you can still use it, and you can do that into maybe your ovipositor. If you do it from range, this will whiff, so you're going to want to do this close to them if you're going to cancel into that ovipositor move. She also has 4, 4, which is a high-low attack. It's a neutral on block, so you can use that safely. Now, as far as her specials go, she has a couple. She has this main Firefly. It's a very slow-moving projectile. It has quite a bit of recovery on it before she's actually able to do anything. So don't use this against any teleporting characters because it's very, very easy to react to, but you could try to use it here and there. The damage output is okay. You get 6% for it, which is on the lower end of what you would get for a projectile. So generally speaking with Devora, you're not really going to try to zone anyone with her. You kind of want to try to work your way in at that mid-range and then try to follow up with your 4, 2, 2. She also has ticking time bug, which you can use in the air. From what I've experienced, this doesn't seem to be a very strong projectile, mainly because it has so much recovery on it for when you have to put it and then land on the ground. A lot of characters can dash up at you as you throw it down. A lot of characters can shoot projectiles at you while you do it, but sometimes it can be useful. For example, if you're fighting an opponent that, let's say they throw out a projectile, you can use that time to maybe stay airborne and go over the projectile like that, and now you're going to have a little thing on the screen to control some space. So you can kind of use it that way to go over projectiles and then get something on the screen. But if you use it too much, then you're just going to end up getting caught by your opponent. She can do this at multiple ranges, close range, a medium range, and a far range. And then if you amplify it, this one can be a little bit more useful because they're all over the screen at the 3 ranges that she has. So that the amplified version of it can be pretty useful. Now, she has the ground swarm, which is essentially the low puddle. Very slow startup. So you can use it in certain pressure situations, but I would never recommend just using it raw like this because you're basically going to die. If you ever do it in a block string, it's also a pretty big gimmick because anytime you cancel into it, you can get punished for it. So I wouldn't advise doing that either. But if you amplify it, you can get a full combo from it. The amplify is punishable on block though, so be aware of that. You don't really want to throw that out unless you're hit confirming the move first. She can do these ground swarms at multiple ranges, but as I said before, you don't really want to throw these out. Yeah, You don't really want to throw these out just raw, because most characters will either be able to dash or jump at you as you're putting it down, or throw a projectile at you, and it's not really worth going for, in my opinion. She has this anti-air Infested move, which is pretty good. As you can see, you can snag your opponent out of the air. It does have a Crushing Blow for it, which we're going to go over later. And she also has 2 other special moves, which is her Strepsiptera, this pooping bug that she puts on the ground, and it'll have a bug come out and hit the opponent. If she amplifies it, 3 bugs come out. One thing to note for this bug is that if she does release it and you hit her, the bug will go away. But if you do it late, then the bug will still come out. So as you can see, it was ready, now I hit her, and now I'm getting hit. But if I hit her before, then the bug will go away. That's going to be important when it comes to using it for setups. She has these special moves as well. She has Swarm, which is a move that you can end combos with potentially. For example, I could do something like this, and then Swarm, and now they're restood. She has 4 frames of hit advantage, so she gets a little bit of something off of it. Maybe a down 1. You could try to throw them as well after you do something like this. And she also has her Catapult Rush, used to be called Ovipositor Rush, I think, or Charge in the MKX. Now it's called Catapult Rush, and this move is going to be super important. It's -15 on block, so it is punishable, but the amplified version is safe. It's -4 on block. So this is going to be a very important move, and I'll explain why it's so important. So those are basically her special moves. As far as Crushing Blows, we can go over what her Crushing blows are. She does not have a throw Crushing Blow. She does have the universal down 2 Crushing Blow. Down 2 Crushing Blow. She also has the Crushing Blow here, 1, 2, 1 plus 3. This is a very useful Crushing Blow. Triggers if combo attack. If this combo attack is a counter or punish. So, for example, if I do it like this, you'll see that you get 29.5%. So basically 30% for that Crushing Blow. You can use it once as any Crushing Blow. Now, these other Crushing Blows she has are kind of useless, in my opinion. We'll go to these useless ones after. She has this other Crushing Blow, which is actually very strong, and this is her best Crushing Blow that can lead into big damage. It's the Infested Crushing Blow. So if the opponent tries to jump and attack at me, you can use this. As you can see, it actually does 150, and it does see extra damage to them afterwards, but that's not it. So it does 200 damage on its own, but what's so great about it is you can actually Crushing Blow them, and you can get a full combo off of it. For example, so that's 47% damage. Very strong. That's going to be like the main way for her to get any kind of big damage. Outside of that, she doesn't really have access to much. So you're going to really want to utilize this down forward 2 Crushing Blow whenever you have the opportunity for it. If your opponent has about 40% health or so, definitely use it if the opportunity presents itself. Now she has these other 2 Crushing Blows, which are kind of useless. You'll see this one is triggers if the 3rd hit is the first to hit the opponent. Meaning, I'm going to have the AI do this move. So I have to block the first 2 hits, and then I have to let go of block in order for that Crushing Blow to hit. And you'll see that it does, how much damage? It does 170 and then some damage over time. Realistically speaking, you're not really going to hit this in a match because there's no real reason to just let go of block there. Also, she has this other Crushing Blow, which is 4-2-2 down 1+3. Triggers if opponent blocks late on last hit. And this is another Crushing Blow that it's very unlikely to work. It's a little bit more likely than the other one, but it's pretty unlikely to work. I wouldn't really expect to ever hit these Crushing Blows. Essentially, your opponent has to get hit and then hold the block button after they get hit, and then the Crushing Blow will trigger. And you see there's some damage over time happening there too. So those are her Crushing Blows. And now I'm just going to give a little bit of a general overview of what the game plan is going to be with D'Vorah going into any kind of matches. One thing to note is that her 4-2-2-4 string, as you can see I'm trying to input it, it won't come out on whiff. It has to hit for that last part to come out. Same thing goes for the 4-2-2 up 1+3 and down 1+3. As you can see, if I try to do the down 1+3, it's not coming out. If I do the up 1+3, it's not coming out. You have to actually hit the opponent for those moves to come out. Now the thing is, you're not really going to want to use that, because if you do hit the opponent, there's no real reason to go into a string like this. It's also not really a good combo ender either for either of these strings. If you do hit the opponent with the 4-2-2, you're going to want to go into the amplified puddles and you can actually get a full combo. And that's about the type of damage that you're going to get for D'Vorah for a bar, 26%. If you get them with the 4-1-3, you can do a combo like this that will get you about almost 28% for a bar. But if you want to cut the combo short and try to get a bug setup, you could do something like that. So for example, if you want to set up a bug as a setup, you can do something like this. Now if the opponent's blocking, you see that you can try to come in maybe and apply some pressure. But you are going to be sacrificing that 7% damage to get that bug on the ground. So you have to determine if it's worth it to you in that situation to sacrifice that damage, to try to go for a setup of some sort. As I was saying before, since the 4-2-2-4 and the 4-2-2 up 1+3 down 1+3 strings don't come out on whiff, that's something you're really going to want to take note of, because her 4-2-2 on its own on whiff has 39 frames of recovery, meaning it's very, very punishable on whiff. So you really can't be throwing this move out there from range if you think it's going to whiff. You really have to try to come in with you're down fours, and then once that hits, you can come in with the 4-2-2. The only way to make yourself safe once you use 4-2-2 is to go into this move, Catapult Rush, and amplify it like that. So at that point, you're going to be -4. Now, the reason I say this is the only way to make it safe, you might be thinking, why don't I just use this move, which is -6 on block, or this move, which is -6 on block? Well, I'm going to show you why that's not exactly safe. And the easiest way is actually to show you against another character. So as I was saying, the 4-2-2 move is the only way to make this move safe is to end in this when your opponent blocks it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to control Noob Saibot, and I'm going to have D'Vorah use this 4-2-2 down with 3 string. And it's going to whiff, and you'll see that she can get full combo punished for using this string. So you really want to be careful if you're going to use a string like this, because many characters it'll whiff on, and you're going to get full combo punished for it. So you really don't want to be using that string that much unless you know for a fact that the opponent, opponent's character it won't whiff on. But that would require some extensive labbing to really understand which characters it will or won't work on. And the thing is, even if it does, this move can be flawless blocked and full combo punished like that. So it's not really a good string to use, even if it was working the way it should, like intended to work. It can be flawless blocked, so it's not even safe to use. So I wouldn't really recommend using that string. You could get away with it every now and then, but it's not something that you should be relying on. Now the other strings that she has, such as the 4-2-2-4, it ends in a high, but you'll see that even if I stay blocking low, it's just going to whiff anyways, and then you can be punished for this as well. Now her other option is using her 4-2-2 up 1+3, but this move is also not a great move to use because it is very negative and you can get full combo punished for that as well. If we look in the frame data, it's -15. So if we're looking at this 4-2-2 string, which is her best mid, it's 20 frames, it's her fastest mid, outside of her down 1. It is a move you will have to use because the range is so strong, but just know that when you use this, if your opponent blocks it, your only way to be confirmed safe is using her down back 4 and then amplifying it on block. You could go into down back 4 and not amplify it, but at that point she's -15 and she's punishable. So your options are either to stagger the string, at which point you're punishable, -15. You can go into this string, which would look like that, but that's also -15 and is punishable. You can go into this string, and if they block it, you will be safe, but there are ways around it, such as flawless blocking it or just having it whiff entirely by ducking. And then there's also the 4-2-4, but this will also whiff if your opponent just ducks. So only way to be safe is using this into this. So generally speaking, you're going to want to use your down 4 to try to control space, use your 4-2-2 to try to come in after down 4 is hit, use that to stay safe if you're down back 4. You can also use your 4-1-3 to come in. It is a high though, but you can try to use that to come in as well. It's -6 on block, so this one is safe. And if you hit them, you can do the same type of combo with them as well. If your opponent jumps at you, make sure you make use of her jumps, or her anti-airs, because her down 2 is very strong, and her Crushing Blow off of that is very strong as well. One other thing that I forgot to mention that's really important is her jump 1 is very, very strong. It has great range on it. As you can see, I can be back here and hit them with my jump 1. So you could do that, and you could go into a full combo from there. So you can use your jump 1s as much as possible to try to utilize that range that you have. Her jump kick is also pretty strong and can be kind of difficult to anti-air, so use them both. You can also neutral jump a lot with her and then get follow-up combos, catching your opponent sometimes if they're doing something like advancing move. So you can use her jump 1 as well. Her jump 1 is a very strong tool. So now that we have a good understanding of D'Vorah and how you want to play the game with her, let's take a look at some combos.